Hello, everyone. I think we're just let folks into the room, and we are giving folks a minute to uh, open their microphones if they want to, and make sure we have all of the waiting room members admitted into the meeting itself. It looks like everyone who was in the waiting room is now in the meeting, or in the Zoom call here. Um, give it a second to see if anyone else attends. Anyone else shows up in the waiting room. I don't see anyone else coming in there.
I'll keep watching as we go and let people in as we go along.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, so thank you everyone for showing up this evening, and for many of you for providing feedback, input to begin with, and feedback on the draft. And I am hopeful that we can use this as a just a discussion this evening to make sure that we uh, receive the full benefit of everyone's thoughts on the draft that we've uh, developed together, and the draft of the platform. And let's begin by taking roll, just so that we know who is on the call. And this is just like say a work session to provide further feedback and uh, edits to the draft platform that we have developed. And we will not be taking any formal action here, other than revising the draft together and sort of talking about the contents of the party platform. So let's proceed with the meeting in a fashion where if someone wishes to speak, they will raise their hand, and I'll facilitate by recognizing people so that we can it's clear who has the floor. And in the same fashion, I think Jenny is with us here and is going to take roll so that we have an orderly presentation of the participants here. So thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, hey there, everybody. I'm just going to go on the last roll call sheet. I know there's not a lot of folks on the call, not as many as last time, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it pretty quickly. So just say here or present when I call your name. Is Pam Klein here? Okay. Barb Scott? Okay. Floyd Sayer?
Here.
Thank you. Dodie Dogeberger?
Here.
Thank you. Rick Staten? Okay, he was here last time. Pam Van Horn? Karina Rouse? Deb McCarthy? Pam Garrison?
Here.
Pam, thank you. Linda Childers? Judy Stevens? Kathy Link? Cody Thompson? Pam Klein? Pat Maroney? Christy Cardwell?
Here.
Thank you. Robert Baker? Martek Washington? Troy Miller? See you there.
I am here.
Thank you. James Griffin? Dave Thompson? Patricia Hamilton? Dorothy Kangler, I see that you're here. Ken Collinson? Sam Petzonk is here. Marcus Wilkes is here. Elaine Harris? Josiah Sorient, Jared Powell. See
Here.
that you're here. Kim Felix, Cheryl Lawrence, Rachel Tompkins, Cindy Lavender Bow.
Sorry, Kim is here.
Oh, thank you, Kim.
Yep.
Emily Clifford, Jason Armentrout, Richard Rectot, Charlie Streisel, Amanda Eastep Burton, Art Oakland, Selena Vickers.
I'm here.
Thank you. I'm here. Jenny Craig, Neil Vestal, Christy Cardwell, Troy
Here.
Miller. Oh, Troy, you're on there twice. Christy Cardwell is here. Thank you, Christy. Diane Browning, Elaine Harris, Matt Spurlock, Mike Pushkin, and that's all. Is there anyone else on the call that I did not call?
Jenny, Ken Collinson here via phone.
Okay, thank you, Ken. All right, thank you so
This
much.
is Allison Reeves. I'm just a guest, and Dorothy Tangla put out the message that you guys were going to be discussing the party platform, so I thought I'd listen in for a bit.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you, Sam.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. So everyone who is a member of the platform committee should have received a draft based on our research and discussions to date. What I would like to do is sort of recap what's in the draft for those who have it in front of them, and then I will do that briefly because those of you who have thoughts about it have already written in with those thoughts. And like, for instance, some thoughts, some input we were able to incorporate in but some of it I think we need to hear about a little bit more. Like specifically, Troy, I want to flag, I understand we received your comment, but I'm not sure what to do with your comment. I wasn't sure what, how to honor that comment or what to move in order to accomplish the objective. So I'm going to recap quickly what was in the draft and then open the floor for comments so people can speak up about further changes. And hopefully by the end of the meeting, we'll have a document that we all feel good about. And then we can, this will be the document that we tender to the convention to consider and to adopt. So first of all, the form of the document is, I see Selena has a question. Do you have a question before we start there, Selena?
Yeah, I know that the email that went out, said that we're still accepting proposals. So is there, if tonight is what we're presenting, are we going to meet again? And what do we do if there are other proposals to consider?
Well, I I was going to come back to that at the end of the meeting.
Okay, I'm sorry if I got ahead.
Well, that's okay. I mean, if there's need to meet again, I suppose we could. But if we generally had coalescence around the ideas. So I mean, it's just as needed basis, really.
Okay, all right. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, so the platform is, I would say, as to form, traditionally we've had like a white page bulleted platform. Those of you who looked at the 2016 platform, it's just a series of bullet points in essence on a couple dozen white pages. We talked about putting it in a little bit more of a colorful form that's a little bit more easy on the eyes and easier to page through. So this document we shared is basically a slide deck, like a PowerPoint or a Google. We drafted it with Google Slides so that it could be easily edited by everybody. And this is hopefully easier for people to use, to share, to present. Idea being, as to the form, this is something that our county chairs can download and page through at their county meetings, that Democratic women's groups can easily, just share and present, and just maybe a more useful document. People are accustomed to presenting PowerPoints. You can put it up on a little projector, any number of places that you might be speaking as a Democrat. Hopefully, it will see the light of day more than our traditional bullet point document has seen in the past. So you'll notice that that's the form, and that's the only form that we've drafted. So it's not like we have a 20-page written platform. Right now, all we have is this, and we could find a way to take this and put it in a white page document. There was some discussion that would be helpful to have like a white page version of this. It would be fewer pages. The draft that we have here is, I believe, 24 pages. So we could talk about, as to form, whether we want to package this in a shorter white page bullet point format that would be, maybe 5 or 10 pages, easier to consult if you did want to look at a white page type document. But the format that we have right now, and the only format that we have, is this PowerPoint version. So you can think about that as we're going through. But page 1 is a sort of an overview of 3 top issues, and we could keep or dispose of this page. This is just a sort of an overview of 3 of the issues that seem to be at the forefront. So if people have thoughts about whether we should have a sort of a top 3 issue overview, 3 central issues that we're all focused on, this document will have to live for 4 years. So these issues could become less evocative. We may or may not want to have what I'll call the preview pane, that is just a summary of 3 top issues right at the gate, right as you open the platform. Okay, Christy, let's just do comments as we go, although hopefully we can save most comments for the end, but we'll take them as we go, unless that gets too lengthy. Yeah, Christy Cardwell.
Can you share the platform to the screen? Right now, I'm having trouble getting it to open because I'm zooming on my phone this evening.
I can share the platform to the screen, but I want to stress this is just a draft. Okay, so this meeting is being recorded, and please don't distribute this. This is not a final document. This is just a draft. So I'm a little reluctant to put it on the screen because I don't want it to be, please, I'm asking all the participants, please do not screenshot and distribute this. I'm concerned that
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just a reminder, we are also on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was just going to throw that out there too. Is
Don't
we
share
should
it.
all remember that everything in this meeting is being live broadcast for the record of the world, which is good.
It is good. Christy, can we do it this way? Can I just email it to you? That way you'll have it and without having to broadcast it right now. I just worry about misunderstandings,
That'll be just fine. I understand your reluctance. Absolutely, please do. It'll make it easier for me to open it.
And I can email it to anybody else too. Yeah.
And if I may have
go
the
ahead,
floor
Troy.
for a moment, because to address exactly at the beginning and what we're talking about with the top line 3 things as they are in the draft, I believe this is why the 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights, as adopted by the West Virginia Democratic Party at the end of October last year, should be the front page, because that is, when push comes to shove, the concise thing that we are all fighting for, whether it's living wages or right to participate in public affairs, whether it's criminal justice system, an equitable criminal justice system, or affordable broadband, affordable education, affordable and decent housing for everyone. I think everything else in the platform ends up falling under these 10 items. And I think that's the strength of this document as we adopted it as an executive committee.
Okay, well, let's
wanted...
do this. Yeah, but you'll see if I could go ahead through it so you can take a look.
And I just wanted to throw that out there while we were taking a moment on what to put on the screen for everyone to work with and all of this. And I, thank you for the time.
Okay, yeah, let's go through it. And if we can, try to save comments until the end, if possible. If it's procedural comments like accessing the document, certainly go ahead. But because if you see it, go to the next slide, of course, that does list the 10 major umbrella issues. So, we could keep or discard the three major, three overview points, and just begin the presentation with the next slide, which is a list of 10 issues. That's getting to be a lot of issues. It's hard to say the Democratic Party is focused on these 10 things. That doesn't really roll off the tongue, but those are the pros and the cons, the considerations there. Okay, so the draft has 3 top points as a suggestion for page 1. Then we do have the list of all 10 issues, which is basically the distillation of the 10 major issues that are in most of the state and national Democratic Party platforms. Some of the platforms express them as up to 13 different issues, but based on all the input that we got, and the most analogous platforms from Pennsylvania and some other states, it seemed like we could do it in 10. 10's a nice round number. So we presented these 10 issues on the second slide there. Okay, moving ahead to what is actually the fourth slide. There's some just general quotes, common themes. Our platform has traditionally included some quotes from leaders, Democratic leaders, historical leaders. If anyone has real powerful ideas about other quotes or to include, or we could just delete that altogether. But there's the quotes page. We have next, we go into the issues, okay?
Sam, can I stop you just for a second? Maybe I'm looking at something different. Is it the email that you sent and it has like the blue on the side and it says 2024 West Virginia Democratic Party platform, and then the first slide says protecting West Virginia's future? Is that what you're looking at?
No, there was a link to the Democratic. Why don't I do this? Why don't I put the link to the document in the chat here? Maybe that will be a way to address this question. And hold on a second here.
So it looks like the chat might just be set up for Corey to direct message back and forth.
Shoot, Corey, is there any way you can make that chat accessible to the group meeting chat?
Yeah, let's see what I can do.
It's in the chat now. I think because Sam's
I think everybody has it.
Yeah.
It's there. Yeah. So people should be able to click on that. That's the document that was linked also in the email. But if there's any question about it, you can get to that document there. So we have slide 1, top 3 issues. Slide 2, the 10 categories of the platform. The first of which is infrastructure. There's an overview on infrastructure. Tagline is a strong and fair economy must benefit all communities. Slide 2 on infrastructure is infrastructure includes facilities to provide a good quality of life, meaning elder care and child care. That's the headline. And we've received a lot of input about this. Economic development requires a good quality of life, requires attracting retirees and young people. So human infrastructure, was a big theme and we from a lot of commenters throughout that we received input from. So that's voiced there. labor is the next item. Labor is the foundation of our wealth, and this includes some of the some of the top points, unifying points that we heard about the value of labor, traditional labor unions, but also, labor power as expressed through public benefits, unemployment, workers' compensation, occupational health and safety. We received a lot of input about workers' rights and labor apart from organized labor. So this addresses both of those aspects of organized labor. The next slide was labor's the economic Bill of Rights, and this is, we can come back to this later on, but this is where we had put the economic Bill of Rights in the presentation. Not that it's limited to labor, but it is an economic Bill of Rights. So it seemed like in the context of the platform, this is a logical place to put it, but it's certainly, let's discuss that when we get to the end, where it should go. Next slide was just more quotes. Some people suggested quoting Mother Jones. We put in a quote from Ecclesiastes, the threefold cord is not quickly broken. Just some other quotes to pepper this with some, interesting stuff as people are paging through it. Then this next slide was drawing a contrast. So while our platform is about what we stand for, there was some conversation that we should use the platform to draw a contrast and and remind people about how to speak about why our platform is so much different from and urgently necessary relative to the GOP's platform. So there's a slide 10 says, when the GOP wins, labor loses. And maybe we could caption that differently, but we could say, when the GOP wins, West Virginia people lose. But there's a series of statements in there, mostly still focused on labor, and that's why this is sort of in between the section on labor and human rights. So you can take a look at that. That next slide is human rights. Human rights includes racial equity, equal rights for women, LGBTQ community, disabled, and indigenous citizens. We added, since the first draft of this, an additional page under human rights for criminal justice and recovery, substance use disorder. 3 general points there about those issues, which are so much a focus. Criminal justice, especially jail reform, and ensuring that our jails are safe and commit and engaged in promoting long-term recovery. We had several comments from people who, and I think some of whom are on this call. So this is a new slide. Slide 12 is something that you wouldn't have seen in the first draft of the slide version of the platform. Next slide is human rights, abortion, codifying Roe v. Wade. This says that women have long held a constitutional right to reproductive freedom, but we're not shying away from saying that means safe and legal abortion. And we say that here. So slide 14 is environment. It's pretty self-explanatory, a few different points there. Slide 15, defending education and families. That lumped under that, we included public schools, foster care, and childcare. So childcare shows up 2 different places in the platform. It shows up under the heading of under the heading of infrastructure, because childcare and childcare centers are a matter of infrastructure, and we had a lot of input about that. But we also talk about childcare as part of the education system and part of our pro-family policy as Democrats. So childcare shows up a couple places through here, there are 2 slides addressing public schools, foster care, childcare, education generally. Then slide 17 is energy and public health. this was the product of some conversation. We put public health in together with energy because, asthma, mercury, so many different issues regarding public health, especially in West Virginia, are tied to energy consumption. Safe drinking water, and so on. So energy and public health were presented together. Slide 18 and 19 are healthcare for all. This is initially we had talked about this as universal healthcare. The sort of more contemporary way that several people suggested we speak about healthcare is healthcare for all, and that quality, affordable healthcare is a basic human right. And some of this language is taken from the national platform. A lot of the language in these bullet points was taken from either the national platform or from neighbor state platforms like Pennsylvania or Georgia. We took a little bit from Georgia. There were several comments about the value of the Georgia platform. So there is a slide on the public option under healthcare for all. The public option gets a lot of time in the national platform. It's in a lot of state platforms. It has been something that, is a strong point of common concern within the Democratic Party. And this slide doesn't go any farther or beyond what the National Democratic Party has said, because there are many ways to present a public option. But having a public option to compete with private options is a part of the National Democratic Party's platform, and it's certainly been the subject of a lot of organizing and advocacy in labor and labor-adjacent organizations in West Virginia. So it is one of the only sort of specific policies that is addressed in the platform, and that's why. So going on, I want to get through these. Protecting democracy. I would note missing from this slide is the point that just today we got a great comment from Thornton Cooper about this issue. And Thornton said we should include in our platform the fact that in our bylaws, the Democratic Party invites independents and non-Democrats to vote in our primaries. We are, we embrace pluralism in our democracy. We encourage people to participate in our primaries. That is already set forth in our bylaws. So as a matter of the party's policy and as a matter of law, that is explained elsewhere in the Democratic Party's governing documents. But I thought it was a good point from Thornton, and we just received it today. So I would suggest that we add a one-liner or some reference on this slide regarding the fact that we have an open primary. Next is immigration. Our heritage guides us. West Virginia has always been a state of immigrants, and there's not a lot in here in terms of policy beyond what is set forth in many Democratic platforms. Same thing with the next slide, global leadership. This is the only point in the draft platform where we incorporate or reference the National Party's platform. And that's simply because the National Party platform has a dozen pages of relatively detailed foreign affairs positions that have been developed by the State Department under Democratic administrations, generally that it is the position of the Democratic Party to advance a concerted international affairs policy. And so in that spirit, recognizing the importance of national unanimity on foreign affairs and not having received any commentary about international affairs as a part of West Virginia's policy, we thought it was important to have a platform point on global leadership, and you can see how we address it here. So if people have thoughts and comments, and then the last couple of slides say, again, comes back to contrast. Democratic platform versus GOP platform. The most people share common interests, and we draw some contrast with the GOP, and then we end it with the very last slide, underscoring a theme which we heard from a lot of commenters, which is that the Democratic Party is looking to the future. The Democratic Party is the party that is building the infrastructure and building the people power, embracing human rights, honoring education and families. We are focused on the future. And that was a pretty consistent general theme about where our party is going and who we are inviting to join us in the process. So that's the overview. I hope I didn't go too long. I see Troy and Dottie. Let's start with you, and then we'll do you, Troy. And if others have comments, please raise your hand. Go ahead, Dottie.
Yes, Sam. I liked the first draft, and I like this current draft even more. I like particularly that first slide where you list the 3 main points. If I go to the next slide, though, those 3 points are lost in the noise. And I would like to suggest that we have those 3 points in that slide, in the previous slide, to be the first 3 points of the next slide, and use those as the centerpiece. And then we can talk about the relative ordering of the rest. But I think there's a disconnect between the first 3 points and the next 10 points. And I think that those 3 are important and they get lost in the noise. Thank you.
Great point. Thank you, Dottie. We'll work on that. Troy.
Well, I think we know where I'm going to go with this, which is I think those first 3 points and the second 10 points all do ultimately fall under the 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights as we've adopted as a party unanimously. And I think it would be ill-advised for us to not use this tool that we have had popular reaction to as the centerpiece of our platform. And I think we should be bold. And if other states aren't putting this at the centerpiece of their platform, let them follow us. And I think we need to, like the very next thing, everything makes sense to me if we do that. Everything falls in order for the rest of the platform. Infrastructure is how we achieve these things. And everything else falls directly under it. But I think laying out what our goals are is a stronger a stronger platform to stand on for the next 4 years of these 10 ideas, these 10 rights that we identify for every person, whether they are in the labor force or not, every West Virginian, every American. And the quote then becomes directly from FDR when he presented the second Bill of Rights, colloquially referred to as the Economic Bill of Rights. And I would be remiss if I had missed this meeting and not made a strong case for this. And I invite anyone who has any questions about the reasoning behind this or whether it's well advised to be in touch with me. And I'm happy to, we can relay that contact. I know that this is out for complete public consumption, so I'm not going to give my phone number here. But email me at troynmillerwv@gmail.com. And I'm happy to have this conversation about why I feel so strongly about putting this at the center of our platform on the first page. When you look at the 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights, you get a much bigger vision of what we're fighting for and all of the different fronts we're fighting along than you do with those first 3 concepts with many more words on that first slide than simply the 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights. And I appreciate everyone's time while I, got on that soapbox again. Thank you.
Good point. Okay, we'll work on that. Who's next here, Jenny or Selena? I'm not sure who had their hand up first.
Jenny did.
Go ahead, Jenny.
Hey, yeah, so first of all, thank you to everyone who's put in so much work. Thank you, Sam, for facilitating this. I have just a couple general points or maybe questions, and then just some specific maybe specific additions to the education piece. So first, I tend to agree with Troy that and Jody, that some of our message gets sort of lost in the wordiness, in particular the quotes. I do really like the idea of starting with, or at least highlighting, at least as a centerpiece, the Economic Bill of Rights. That the resolution that we passed, I think it's very succinct. I think it's very bulleted. I think it's super easy to consume and to read, and I like putting that at the forefront. And then, incorporating that with the other 10 points, or, blending that in. I think that in saying what the GOP, I like the contrast. I really like how we're contrasting, how we're different as a party. But I think that if we keep reading, and I think we focus a lot on what the GOP does or doesn't do, and I think we need just more succinct points of what we do and or stand for as Democrats. I would suggest maybe taking out some of the quotes. I think, in particular, the Ecclesiastes quote, just because we are from all different backgrounds and religions, I think that may, you talk about a big tent party, that just might not be appropriate for some. And then as far as the, I don't know how to respond. I'll send this to Corey maybe. Just some additions to the education component. So I put it in the chat and sent it to Corey. I don't know if he can post that. I feel like we have a lot on the environment and we have a lot in other parts, but we sort of combine education, and it makes sense that we combine education with the other points on that slide. I'm going to bring that slide up right now, but I think that we need to add a little bit more, in particular because education has been so attacked in West Virginia. So right now, just a little blurb about education, just talks about adequate, equitable, thorough and efficient free public education. And it does mention privatization, but I would like to see some maybe more specific points of what we as a party stand for. Something like, we are committed to increasing funding for public education to provide adequate resources and technology. This was in one of the drafts that you sent, and I added to it. And we'll work to ensure competitive salaries and professional development for teachers and service personnel. We will expand early childhood and aftercare school programs to support working families. We are committed to maintaining public education and opposing attempts to privatize it, including opposition to the use of public funds for non-public schools. And we will advocate for fair and equal per pupil distribution of funding across all counties. I think that all of those things have been under attack so heavily here in West Virginia that it might be important to put that in our platform. And I don't think that is anything in particular is going to be dated in 4 or so years.
That makes sense, and that's very helpful. I'm glad you were the one to distill those things. Thank you. So, okay, Selena. And make sure, Jenny, that are you noting about I'm making notes on the comments, but are you making notes on them as well?
Yes, not
okay.
Like word for word. I'm just trying to get
the big points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, Selena.
Yeah. Thank you. So this is really good. I don't know if I missed it, but this is the first time I've seen this document. I think I was looking at the one that Jenny was talking about earlier. So I apologize that had not seen this version to comment on previously, but one of the things I agree with Thornton, I think that's a really, really good point to add in here. And I would also, I think it's what I would very much like to see in our platform is how we're going to govern. When Democrats if we're in power, how are we going to govern, and contrast that somewhat. And I think what Thornton mentioned is like a little bit of that. But a couple things that I think I think most people would want to see is moving away from or moving towards runoff elections. So like in the spring, we elect Supreme Court justices with 20% of the vote because we don't do runoffs, so majority instead of plurality of votes. So that would be a very important thing in terms of protecting our democracy, to move towards that. the addressing the role of money in politics, transparency of the money, and there are things that our state legislature could do to provide for that if we would, pass laws. And we won't. I mean, our current legislature won't. There are some things in our current platform about that, and I'm not sure if we can use that language or not. But I think that's important to talk about how we would address money in politics. So that transparency part. The other thing that I think is really important is for us to stand for referendums and for the right of people to be able to put ballot issues on like abortion or whatever. We don't have the right to do that in West Virginia, and I think a lot of people would like to have that right. Whoever is wordsmithing this document, kudos to them, because they take a lot of big ideas and put them into very digestible language. And so I don't have the ability to do that. Anyway, those are some thoughts that I would like to see about how how we want our government, Democrats, to govern if we had the majority, if we were in charge. So those are my thoughts.
Selena, can you put those points, especially about ballot initiatives, in the email to the platform at wvdemocrats.com?
I will. Yes,
thank you. And Jenny, are you intending to leave your hand up, or are you done with your comment?
No, I'm done with my comment. I think
Okay.
Corey was trying to allow me to put my put what I said in as a comment, but I can't figure it out. But I'm gonna email that. But yeah, my hand is just up from before.
Okay,
Hey, Sam,
thank you.
This is Floyd Sayre. I can't get my hand up, but I'd like to make a comment whenever it's convenient.
Thanks, Floyd. There was one person ahead of you, and then we'll do your comment.
All right,
Chris,
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Christy Cardwell.
I just wanted to say I agree with Troy. I think that that economic bill of rights is something that's short and sweet and goes to everything that we stand for. And I also agree absolutely with Jenny Craig. We have to be very specific about what we want to do with public education. I'm tired of the attacks that we have on public education, and we need to make it very clear that we stand with our educators. What Selena had to say is absolutely wonderful too. I'd like to see those things added as well. As soon as those things are added, I'd like to see an updated document.
Good point. It sounds like we're talking ourselves into another meeting in another week or two, but which could be productive. So I'm glad to do. I think that's great. But point taken on that procedural issue as well, Christy. So thank you for all of that. Floyd.
Yeah, my issue is on education also. We have a situation here in Mason County where we have 2 school board members. One of them is a new member. The other was already a member. One of the members has 3 kids that they're educating at home education. They're getting somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 for each one of those kids. That's tax-free. The other issue is we just had a guy elected who is a minister, who is the head of the Right to Life group in Mason County. He has 3 kids, which he's getting approximately between $4,000 and $5,000 for each one of those, tax-free. Guess where they're going to school? In a religious school in Gallipolis, Ohio. I don't like the idea of mixing politics and religion. And that's exactly, if they're taking my taxpayer dollars and giving it to a religious school in Ohio, I find that to be not kosher. So I think we put in a proposal to address that from the executive committee here in Mason County. Scott Brewer may have put it in. I don't know whether he's put it in yet or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Floyd. And I think some of that, I mean, opposition to vouchers generally, whether they go to parochial or religious schools or any kind of school, is really something that, Jenny, will that be encompassed your input? Great. Thank you. Thank you, Floyd. Okay. Anyone else? Christy, is your hand up?
I didn't really mean to leave my hand up, but I do want to speak to what Floyd just said. I do not think that it's a good look to have people on your board of education who are sending their children to homeschool or to a private school. That's inappropriate, especially if it's an out of state school.
Right.
Gotcha. So we're getting close to the end of the hour. I've made some notes. Jenny's made some notes. I do think it sounds like everybody is really engaged and thinking a lot, and several people on here have not commented. They may want to send in further comments. To summarize, big picture, we heard from a bunch of people. They want to move up the Economic Bill of Rights because it's succinct. I think the balancing act with that is it uses the rights language, which is one of the two key concepts: infrastructure and human rights. Those are our two key concepts that we all keep coming to. So I get that makes sense, but it's also a pretty long list of rights. And so, what I'd like to try to think of is I'm going to try to work on a way to move up the Economic Bill of Rights, but also to try to start the presentation off with 2 or 3 big concepts that when you say I'm a Democrat, it's because reproductive freedom, fight for democracy, and rebuilding our state. It'd be nice if we could have just a couple or 2 or 3, but everyone feels very strongly about the Economic Bill of Rights. So let's move it up to the top. We'll try to find a way maybe to merge the list of 10 and the 3 preface issues, so that we will have our introductory slides will be the cover slide, which says infrastructure and human rights. Then we can say Economic Bill of Rights. Then we can say, here are the 10 core values. And maybe we can take Dottie's point and use it we could merge the 3: democracy, childcare, and reproductive freedom. We can put those as like colon expanders in the list of 10, so that there are 3 big points that emerge from our list of 10 core issues. And that may do a lot of good work to kind of consolidate things. I'll circulate a draft in the next few days that integrates all of these ideas as best we can. And then let's talk about it over the coming week. And then we can reconvene to sort of ratify and make sure that there are no further outstanding significant concerns. But before we pick a date, I think a couple other hands have gone up. So yes, Marcus Wilkes has his hand up.
Okay, Sam, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
All righty. Hi, everybody. I really think that this is a very excellent document. However, my concern is regarding the messaging that this document is going to carry out to the voters. What I've observed is that many of the people still believe that the traditional leaders, some that are in elected office, still carry the agenda for the Democratic Party. So there seems to be a split in the base whether or not they're going to follow those traditional leaders, or whether the Democratic Party as it exists now. So in the messaging of our platform, how do we kind of divorce ourselves away from those traditional leaders that may or may not support the Democratic Party platform, but they can carry a significant part of the base that's going to vote in November. That's my primary concern, is the role that these traditional leaders are playing within the Democratic Party, but they don't really participate in any kind of meetings or, activities or anything like that.
Marcus, that is a really excellent point. And it gets to what I think of as something we're missing in this draft. And I don't mean to, if you have, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not cutting you off. You got my wheels spinning with your comments there. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, Sam, that's basically it, because I've talked to a lot of people and they still make references to the traditional leaders. And I'm saying, well, this is a new West Virginia Democratic Party, and they are not as familiar with many of the leaders that exist within the Democratic Party. Now, they still make references to the traditional leaders. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Well, I think that's getting on an important issue, which is we are focused on reform and focused on the future, on young and new voices, and being open and inclusive as a party. And that really has been a change in emphasis for the party. And we conclude this platform with that message, but we don't open it with that message. And it might be that we should add a slide up front rather than opening. And this gets to an important item we discuss a lot. Rather than focusing on issues in opening the party platform, we might want to focus on just what you said, Marcus, which is, who are we? When people open our platform, we could lead with an image of, we are an open party focused on the future and change. And if that is that's sharing our identity, not sharing our position on particular issues. And that may be a very important way to not only to tie together the presentation a little bit better by opening on the same point we're ending on, but also it grabs people much more than issues do. You're saying we need to send a message about, who are we as Democrats? Are we old folks who don't feel approachable, or are we a new and open party embracing new voices and change? And that, I don't know if others have thoughts, but
Yeah.
I think that's a really powerful way to open the whole thing up, and not to say help childcare, democracy, or reproductive freedom even, but to say, if your self-image is one of being open and embrace, and focused on the future, then you have a democratic identity. That's a message about identity. And that might be a really powerful way to open up the platform on page 1. Do others have thoughts about that? Adding as an opening slide, who are the Democrats? The Democratic Party, and it would include a statement that would say, the Democratic Party is an open party committed to including all voices and delivering a better future for our state, or building a better future for our state. Use that language of building, which invokes the infrastructure concept, but also, invoke the inclusion of all, so that we're encompassing our idea of human rights, inclusiveness, equity, and representation in the opening slide. Do people have thoughts about that? And then and there's a lot of commentary about delete the quotes. That complicates the questions of identity, because you're dredging up all kinds of associations that people have with the identity of the individuals that you're quoting. So point taken there. Maybe the way to get at the identity question, instead of quoting people, is, as Marcus suggests, lead off with this statement: we are an open party focused on building a better future for everyone. That's who we are. That's an identity statement. What do people think about that? Well, I'll type it up. I will circulate it. It's almost 9 o'clock. So, Christy, you have your hand up. Any other closing thoughts for the good of the order?
I just want to say that's excellent. To start out with that, I do like the idea of pulling those quotes out to kind of pull things together as well. And that one statement that says when the GOP wins, labor loses. Can we change that to West Virginia loses?
I already changed it. That's a great yes. I'm tinkering in editing and trying to incorporate this in the working draft, and absolutely done.
All right. I think this has been really productive. I like it.
Thank you all. Selena had a hand up too.
Yeah, I just have a question about the document that we're looking at. Is it the draft that as you make edits? So in other words, if you work on it, over the weekend or something, or if I go back in, am I looking at this document now, or I'm going to see what you've updated it?
If you use this link, you'll see the updated version. That I also circulated a PDF, a static version. So when we send out the minutes for this meeting, we can send both the static version, which is how the document looked at the beginning of the meeting, and also the link to the dynamic document so that people can, or we'll send a new we'll send both versions so that people can see the current, if that's helpful, so that you could compare and jog your memory about what you were reacting to in this conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to I wanted to see it as it was updating. So I just wanted to make sure I had the right link. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for all the work you're doing on this, Sam. This is really, really good stuff and very well thought out.
Thank you all. It's the benefit of a lot of good input from a lot of people. I hope everyone feels that this is really a collaborative process. We've gotten a lot of great commentary. You can see from the discussion tonight, we are actively incorporating comments even that we received this afternoon, like that great point by Thornton Cooper, who, to his credit, Thornton fought for opening the Democratic primary to independents. And that was the right decision then, and it's really proven wiser over time. So he'll be a great Secretary of State. And anybody else have any commentary before we select another meeting date? Because hey buddy, hold on. We do need another meeting date, and what I will propose for a meeting date would be, let's just do a week from today. Say, let's say, could we do Thursday the 6th? Or should we do I might propose Wednesday the 5th. Will that give us enough time to incorporate this stuff and get back together? Because I know I'm going to be traveling on Thursday evening, actually.
Wednesday's better for me. I have council on Thursday.
Wednesday's better? Okay, great. Anybody else have thoughts on Wednesday the 5th? Same time, 8 o'clock?
It's going to be hard for me, but I could probably I'll be traveling and probably just be in the car, but I'll make sure to send in comments ahead of time and then jump on when I can. The other thing I wanted to say, Sam, is at some point, I don't know when, but I think that the party should do a press release about this work. I mean, this is just really good stuff, and I think it's important to get that out to people.
Well, yeah, let's do it in connection. We'll get press opportunities talking about the convention, and of course, none of this is really official till it's adopted. So my thought would be, in connection with the convention, we can talk about our party has broadly sourced commentary from Democrats across the state, and created this platform which reflects a broad set of Democratic hopes and aspirations and beliefs about who we are and who we aspire to be as a party. Does that make sense? Because we're going to get earned media through the convention.
Agreed. Agreed.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, great. We can do anybody else? All right. Oh, if not, we'll send out a reminder about the 8 p.m. on June the 5th. And thank you all very much for your participation.
Sam, just real quick, No, sorry. I want to thank you again and everyone who's worked really hard on this draft. I won't be able to be on at all next week.
Oh, okay.
But if somebody just wants to take notes in my place, and I'll make sure to keep updated and look at the draft and send in any info or comments. But I wanted to say thank you again for facilitating the meeting and working so hard.
Thank you, Jenny. And hopefully there won't be a lot of, business or further editing at that next meeting. So hopefully you won't miss that much. Will you be able to circulate your notes from today's meeting?
Yeah. Yep. I will do that. I will clean them up and I'll send them out tomorrow at least by tomorrow.
Oh, that's great. Okay, thanks. Thank you all.